like almost 1.3 billion. If you can make an explanation whether there is going to be additional recruitment as far as this significant jump is concerned. From 8, if you look at it from 8.8 to 10.2, so if there could be an explanation whether there is going to be an increment. Honorable Minister, with regards to the SOE Commission, last year I did request for an augmentation, knowing the role they play in transforming the SOEs, especially the 14 SOEs under their purview. And we are expecting 2026 to have 6 more SOEs where the NAWEC and GCAA are going to be decoupled. The Sarawak Kairaba Conference, all of them are coming on board. So there is serious human resource gap there. And what was requested and what was given to them was quite inadequate. And I believe that if they are helped, if they are assisted in terms of allocation, there will be a significant improvement, more especially when you come to the 5 staffs that they want to recruit. So actually, in order to post over, they only need 6.5 million. We are appealing to FPAC if we can get something from that and add up to it. And there is a training component also. So if you look at it, only the executive director is moving from one place to another to be doing all those jobs, especially when you come to this KPI in terms of performance audit, the performance contract that the government is signing with them. They play a critical role. So I want to believe that in order to help our SOEs not to be privatized, I think we need maximum attention in helping the commission, give them all the necessary tools to make sure that they conduct that oversight and help the government to sign this performance contract, which will be extremely important. Also, Honorable Minister, when you come to the sector allocations, as far as agriculture is concerned, everybody is boasting of this year there is 1.7 billion from GLF component, which we all celebrated. But if you look at it technically, 1.3 is going for GGC. So what is left is around 400. And I was made to understand there are areas in several these tractors at a tune of 70 million. And some others, if you deducted, eventually what the main ministry will have would be around 3 million or slightly less than 300 million. So this is something that we also have to look at it critically. And again, I want to emphasize as the chief economic and financial expert of the country, to look at what could be done. And in fact, these projects, sometimes we have a lot of projects that are under agriculture, but the effect is not felt by the citizen. And how do we improve upon these things? So that is why I'm looking at it. If there is a possibility, if there are no conditionalities to the grants and loans that we are taking, I think this should be implemented within the main ministry. The ministry should be in the position to fully deal with this allocation that is going to that area. So that if there is capacity in terms of human resources, we recruit and make sure that it is coordinated within the ministry. But sometimes it's very, very difficult when the main ministry, all of them, all the directors are going for secondment in the projects, which means they attract a lot of remuneration than the main ministry. So are we killing our own ministry for the sake of the projects? And this, after all, these projects are becoming a kind of loan, debts for the Gambian people. So we are going to pay for them. It's not free. So if there are conditionalities, I think you need to advise the country very well, not to go in for this type of project that comes with condition that it has to be implemented. Even in terms of auditing, the Auditor General is not doing anything in terms of auditing them. So we have to look at it. Only the external auditors that are auditing them and sending to the donors. So these are some of the things that I want us to look at it. And again, you come to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. There is something that, if you look at it, We tried in as much as a committee, we deducted about 24.7 million. And this was plowed back to some of the areas where they have problem. But if you come to a special budget line where mistakenly they mentioned the name as Qatar Embassy, when it should be Doha Embassy. So 18.6 million was given to this particular area, and the Qatar Embassy does not exist. So what we are requesting, if this thing, the 18 million can now be relocated to Doha, because this is a very important area that we need to put it. And again, if you go to Addis Ababa too, there is a missing gap of about 1.5.
Honorable, I'm not getting that. Doha and Qatar.
Instead of Doha Embassy, there was a putting error. Inputting error. They put it Qatar Embassy, and Qatar Embassy does not exist. So which means it has to be Doha now. So the one that is allocated to Qatar Embassy.
Are these two different countries?
Pardon?
Are they two different countries?
No. In fact, what is the budget line we have is Doha, not Qatar. So it should be now reallocated to Doha instead of Qatar.
But Doha is the capital of Qatar.
Yes.
Qatar is the country.
Yes.
The Gambian embassy in Qatar.
Yes. So what we are saying, we don't have a budget line for Qatar Embassy, but it's Doha Embassy. So this is what we want to transfer. And the other one is about the issue of a gap of 1.5 million that is on the Addis Embassy. And we want if the minister can consider and bring that back to the allocation for the Addis Embassy. On that note, I want to thank you and submit.
Thank you. The member for Bakau, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, enough is heard and enough is said. So on my part, I will be very brief. Honorable Speaker, my first observation for the Honorable Minister is on the total revenue and grants. In 2025, the total revenue budgeted was 44 billion, of which we have 25.62% of GDP. When you go to 2026, we have 50 billion, then the GDP drops to 24.53%, of which I would want an explanation from the Honorable Minister to make me understand of those figures. Honorable Speaker, having said that, we are all made to understand that 2026 budget estimate goes to 43 billion. Out of these 43 billion, 13 billion is going for debt servicing. As a serious government, I would want to put to the minister and find out with him what measures is his ministry taking to make sure that when our budgets are being allocated, such a chunk of our budget doesn't go for debt servicing. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the presidential's allocation of 52 million compared to some budget lines of some ministries, say the Ministry of Youth and Sport, the Ministry of Information, and the Ministry of Information. We are all made to understand that 65% of our youth form our population. If that is the case, having gone through the allocations of the Ministry of Youth and Sports is next to nothing. And according to the development budget, is next to nothing, according to my observation. The development budget is 6.5 million for a ministry like youth and sports. Honorable Speaker, this is not encouraging our youths when it comes to their allocation. It means the ministry have no plan for our youths. The youth that we call our creams of the nation. 6.5 for a development for our youth. What is 6.5 when it comes to reality? Are we serious? Our youths are using the bad way every day because of lack of encouragement from our government. Honorable Speaker, having said that, our Independence Stadium is lying there for the past decade. It's not fit for purpose. Honorable Speaker, this shows that our government is not doing anything to make sure that our youths are engaged. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the presidential tour allocation of 52 million, Honorable Speaker, compared to the whole ministry's 1 year budget allocation. Come again, Honorable Speaker. Sorry. Okay, he's emphasizing on time. Okay, because, thank you. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the budget land allocation for the Ministry of Information together with Ministry of Fisheries, is equivalent to presidential tour allocation. The presidential tour is just 21 days, if I understand. Is it realistic for a tour to be allocated $52 million? Is this justifiable, Honorable Minister? I would want an explanation as to how this 52 million is used for only 21 days. If you compare this 52 million to the Fisheries Ministry's allocation of 1 year, it means we are prioritizing an individual's interest more than national interest. Are we serious as a nation, honorable members? Honorable members, sometimes when we talk, people judge us differently as opposition members, but this is not the case, honorable members. These are open secrets of honorable members. How can this be justified? 52 million compared to a ministry's allocation of 68 million. What is the difference, honorable minister? 1 year budget allocation for the whole ministry, 68 million, allocating for an individual 52 million. Honorable members, are we serious in our functions? Honorable Minister, I want an explanation from you. If you look at the agriculture allocation, 2025, the budget allocation was 835 million. 2026, it goes to $1 billion plus. Is this deliberate? Because the 2026 election is coming. This is all campaign. Honorable members, whether we like it or not, the truth must be told. Honorable members, Let's not serve an individual. Let's serve our nation, as the title goes, honorable members. Having said this, Honorable Speaker, the more I talk, the more I become emotional. So on that note, Honorable Speaker, I'll stop here and I thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Thank you very much. You now have the floor to the member for Nyamina Dankunku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor to participate in this important debate. Honorable Speaker, here is the 2026 budget before this August Assembly, which is a very important tool to our national development. Honorable Speaker, the member for Joshua raised a very important issue. That is, when we are debating, we only debate on expenditures. We don't give ideas how to raise the revenue. And actually, without raising the revenue, you cannot spend. Honorable Speaker, I would want the Minister of Finance to explain to this August Assembly first why the non-tax revenue have actually decreased from 7 to 5 billion. Since we are talking about budget, and we have seen in 2025, that budget line was 7 billion, now it has decreased to almost 2 billion. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister, we have these GSM operators that I believe your ministry should focus on when it comes to revenue raising in this country. We have about 4 GSM operators. And then I believe if we strategize, we can raise a lot of revenues. If they are paying, but let's look at them properly. Honorable Speaker, this year when the Ministry of Finance present the budget, they presented us with another document called Program-Based Budget Pilot 2026 to 2028. I would actually confine my debate based on the 2 ministries that I participate in the bilateral. I will now actually try to link the budget and the program-based budget. Because, Honorable Speaker, we are informed through this important document the purpose and benefit of program-based budgeting. They said number 1 is to improve resource allocation, ensuring that resources are distributed effectively and efficiently according to the priority and importance of various programs. Then second, enhance accountability. Then third, performance measurement. Fourth, strategy alignment. Fifth, informed decision making. Then sixth, increase flexibility. This is very important, Honorable Speaker. And this was to guide us this year. How we're going to prepare our budget. But actually, this policy document comes from the Ministry of Finance. Now, I will try to link this program-based budgeting. I will use the ministry, the Defense Ministry as a sample, reading the importance of program-based budgeting. Honorable Minister, can you give me a minute? Okay. If you go to page 22 of the program-based budgeting, page 22 is where you have the Ministry of Defense. They outline their vision, mission, and strategy alignment. Okay, that's a budget program 07, strategy, policy, and management. Then objective to ensure improved policy and legal framework, reformation through development review. Key performance indicators, number of new policy developed to address deficiency and gaps. So if you, this is at the Ministry of Defense. The gap is under this ministry. And if you looked at what GAF submitted to the Ministry of Finance and you link it to the program-based budgeting, they have indicated this issue of TACOS. What does this TACOS mean? Is term and condition of service of our security men. That should be aligned with the strategy. That should be the budget program, then to ensure improved policy and legal framework. Then the key performance indicators is number of policy developed. So this TACOS actually is developed by the executive. Meaning if we are going by this, the issue of TACOS should be addressed by the Ministry of Finance to make sure that they are giving their budget allocation that they need. So then you could go to 0.711 on page 23 of the program-based budgeting under the Ministry of Defense. Then the program is National Defense Security. That is the program. That the objective is to enhance national defense through the provision of requisite equipment, Gambia Armed Force. Then the outcome is percentage of numbers, percentage of soldiers with required military equipment. And when they did their submission as a ministry, when they did their submission, they submitted 26,200,000 for the uniform protective clothing budget line. And Honorable Minister, you give them 6 million out of it. So the meaning they have nothing to achieve, because what was supposed, the budget that should accompany this one is now under budgeted. So actually what I'm saying, then we are not going by program-based budgeting if we look at the budget allocation of certain ministries, which I believe is really important. And in fact, the next one on the same, it would fall under this program that I just read. That is the issue of their food and food services and the issue of ammunition. When you want to have an equip, when you want to have a required military equipment, as we maybe those under the how to call the Committee on Defense and Security, we know how it happened. It is very difficult to discuss about it here publicly, but we know how it happened within our security forces. So my argument here, Honorable Minister, if we are actually going by the dictate of this document, actually it is not in line with the budget estimate, because most of these programs that are indicated here, they are underfunding. We have the Ministry of Interior also is the same thing. I would actually use the Ministry of Interior also as a sample on the same document, because if we are actually following this document, we will definitely do a very good budget to the country. But I think we just have the framework, but the action is not there. So under the Ministry of Interior, if you look at under the program-based budgeting, under 0811, the program is law enforcement and crime prevention. But you see, what they gave us as a ministry, all this, all the budget line under law enforcement and crime prevention, they are all underfunded. So then, are we actually realistic with our program-based budgeting? Honorable Minister of Finance, this program actually is very good, but we have to strategize how we're going to actually implement this.
The member for Talending Kunjang, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, yes, I just want to start by asking if the Ministry of Finance during government's budgeting process align government expenditure or programs, implementation of programs with the National Development Plan. Because sometimes I keep wondering how the government that wants to promote quality education, that wants to consolidate its democratic dividend, its development programs, would refuse to sufficiently adequately provide funds into some of these budget lines that are very crucial in attaining our development goals. Now, Parliament is now reduced to or turned into a pseudo Ministry of Finance, where we committees now will have to look at the major constraints, because these budget ministries go through finance, where they do all these cuttings regardless of the program they're implementing, regardless of the goals they want to attain. And at the end, when they come to this committee, the committee is now recommending certain adjustments, that are unimaginable. That this is something that has been solved at the executive level. We don't have to see at committee level to look at these things. I want to start with Ministry of Basic and Secondary School Education, where the food and food services, the committee is recommending for $50 million. What was the justification for this augmentation? Was this not submitted to at the bilateral level? Did you not consider that the people at the school should eat? It's a government program. They have to eat something. So if it is based on calculations and the subject is put at the table of the finance, why would that be cut? Is it not that the ministry will not put it at your table? Did you submit this thing? So I find that very confusing. The committee recommends an augmentation of 10 million, making the total of 7 million, for to incur substantial costs related to examination fees and certification. Obviously, people are in school. They must pay examination fees to WIC or any other examination bodies. We committee should be advocating for an augmentation of this budget. When the Minister of Finance did not consider it fit to be there, when the government at the executive level, after having approved this did not consider it fit to be there. Why? Also, contribution to international organization, 20 million. You see, if this is not important to the government, why should it be important to us? The government has programs to implement. So if you look at that, I beg your pardon, building and structures, $15 million still on the monthly. This is for provision was made for, no provision was made for classroom construction. The funding will support the ministry in building the required classrooms and staff quarters to address shortages. The government did not know that. They did not know that. Why would the committee go on to recommend for 15 million to government? They have priorities. They have presidents make the people talk. It's a priority. They put 52 million there. President's office, it's a priority, 900 million. Minister of Finance, it's a priority, 1.2 billion. That's their priorities. When they present, the government priorities. They don't care some of the things. Even if they say it by mouth, but with their actions so steady. So why would the committee now recommend for us to add? Government do not want to give food to children in school. Government is going, local government, they want to build classrooms for you. What they want to do. Now, if you want to contact is contact with education.
Stop the drumming.
Now, government cannot put $1 million to build one classroom. And every time you hear president saying, I built 1,000 classrooms, it's all built by massive. How can a government, serious government, so you get you relegate yourself. What you are supposed to do, you are relegating those responsibility to a foreign national. It's commitment as a government. I think you should build a classroom from taxpayers' money. At some point in our budget, we should see that. Even if it's going to be 5 million. No allocation for classroom at all. So what another serious problem at the schools. Water. They have been schools without now the committee is recommending for 5 million for boreholes. And lack of adequate toilet facilities. As we speak now, I saw it in Washington there. They are mobilizing funds to renovate the toilets in Kalidi. The condition is unbearable. At some point, if toilets are not functional, the schools should close. That's the policy in education. So how can schools be operating without adequate water supply, without good toilets? And all these things are subjected are placed in an approved from cabinet. Your Minister of Higher Education, the committee is recommending for 150 million to add to the total allocation to make it to 250. This has to do with us. The government, they don't know. You have to tell me they don't know. So they don't care. Why must the committee waste our time to say we want to? Let the parents tell us. The ministry present these areas to you, we did. How do you expect to finance it? So it means we have to cut from somewhere to go and finance and then constrain those budgets also, budget lines. It's not fair. So you know, sometimes the thing they do is ministries also will put money, areas where they feel that we might cut if you do not put it there. So the critical things where they know National Assembly will be compelled to look for funds, cut somewhere and put it there. They will not put any fund. So that we are now frustrated, conditioning ourselves to see where we should constrain to put it there. We don't have anything to cut. If the best we can do to help this government is to reduce the deficit. That should be the motive. That should be our motive. Let's go to somewhere else and see where they have money, bring it and finance some of these districts. I saw Minister of Agriculture also. 100 million. Cutting 100 million and then now distributing to projects. Ministry, they don't have the Minister of Finance of the government. They don't even have these projects. That 100 million, you cut it from input side and now distribute it to the shared agricultural departments, subvention to institutions and projects for government and other projects. The government don't know they have projects. They don't know. They don't know how to finance it. But we shouldn't be dealing with this as National Assembly. Honest. To be honest. We shouldn't be dealing with this. Some of the issues are so trivial. Some of the issues I saw even 45,000. Only somewhere. So I always say this. The thing I realize is finance, they don't have problem at the level of their ministry. Ministry of Finance never have problem. President's office never have problem. And which ministry again? Apart from that, yes. No, they don't care. I don't think they're looking at the national development plan to align it with the objectives of attaining something. Ministry of Information. What are they doing in this country? And I see 9 million. Recommending 9 million to put it in government net. Government net is not a program. You did not finance it. Digital Limited, 10 million. It's a government program. You don't know how to finance it. I think this is the responsibility of the finance to tell us. Why come this is a government program? You not put any money in it? If they are not important, scrap it. Tell us. We don't know. Instead of wasting our time talking about what here and put it for you. You should tell us these ones are not important. Government we don't regard it as something important. Now look at agriculture itself. This budget, it looks like an election budget. Every year we complain that Ministry of Agriculture is underfunded, it's underfunded. Now we see 1.7 billion next year because it's election year. Yes, it's election budget. Because it's input subsidy increase, everything increase, so that by the time the warrant, what you issue is called warrant, right? By the time warrant is issued, before January to June, you see that flow of money to farmers and others. They don't know where to vote. It is reality. In the present time, we don't be
Honorable member, order.
1 minute is left.
The members from Kansala and Bintang, your drumming keeps disturbing us, and you are just keep murmuring. No, wait, and you keep murmuring. No, you cannot. No, you cannot overdo things. You know, we want to listen, we want to hear what the member is saying. You cannot do that. No. No, you cannot do that. No. You cannot do that. Member Fatani Nikunyang, please continue.
And very important issue, library services. The minister, you have to give me back my time. You are trying to kill my tempo. I know your tactic. You're killing my tempo so that you will distract people, so that if I come, I lost track. That's what you are doing. No. The minister, library service. No allocation for library service. It's a semi-autonomous body. This new minister stood here and said he's going to advocate for it to be funded adequate. Then the National Library Services. No fund is there. Nothing. Zero.
Member for Banjul North, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, to start with, I think as Parliament, we are lacking the budget spirit. Because looking at the chamber right now is very unfortunate. If you watch other countries during their budget session, especially budget debate, the level of participation by honorable members, you will know that those countries are very serious. But it is very unfortunate that this is what we are currently faced with. But notwithstanding, we are on record, and it's important to also highlight some of the things that we really observe according to the budget that was laid and also the report that was laid by FPAC. But before going further, I will seize the opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister with his entire team for working tirelessly to provide such an important document, and also the FPAC through the chair for also providing a very important report for us to consider. Honorable Speaker, if you can allow me, Honorable Majority Leader, to start with, I just want us to understand that the national budget is the most powerful instrument, and I will borrow this from the Honorable Majority Leader during the budget retreat. He made it very clear, and I quote, "The national budget is the most powerful instrument we possess as a parliament to translate our collective vision into tangible development outcomes that directly improve the lives of the Gambia." And I unquote. This is something that we must all remember and put into consideration. But again, from my humble self, Honorable Speaker, I believe as far as we keep on managing problems in this country, we will never solve them as a country. And the solution must come from Parliament here. And to start with, Honorable Speaker, we have all seen the budget that was presented to us as estimate for next year, which is 2026. And we will all agree that the most or the biggest concern that we have as Parliament and as a country is about the debt servicing. the amount allocated, which is about 13 billion, is a concern. And thank God that according to the report, it is also talking about debt sustainability. And this also talks about the allocation of nearly 1/3 of the domestic revenue to the debt service is a primary concern. The Assembly must assess the long-term sustainability of this part and its impact on national development, because this is something that we just cannot go ahead with, even though we have no other choice, but it's something that we really need to look into. But how can we do that as a country? That is why it is important for us to start prioritizing our social sector ministries. It's very important. And why I am saying this, today, I will share with you, for example, the budget overview, which I also mentioned last year. Looking at the budget overview, the amount that the government is contributing, which is the GLF, for last year was just 71%. Meaning the 29% was based on what? Grants or loans. But looking at that also, whether we were able to achieve that, especially when it comes to the grant component of it, meaning if we cannot get the grant, we must go for the loans. And a serious concern, Honorable Speaker, during our budget bilaterals or even engagement with some of the ministries that we are part of those committees, that approval will be done by Parliament, we appropriate the funds, we agree, and it will be passed as we normally do for the past years. But at the end of the day, the issue of receiving those allocations, we understand that a budget is just a focus. We understand. But I think it is also very important to see the way forward in terms of working towards that, because we are having a lot of issues, especially when it comes to our social sector ministries. Honorable Speaker, today, why do we have to approve budget lines, or let's say budget for ministries like health, when we don't even know how much our public hospitals are making in terms of revenue? Because the budget is revenue and expenditure. And this is exactly what we are doing as Parliament. And the laws are there. Why should it that in a situation whereby hospitals have more power than even the ministry itself? For me, it doesn't make any sense. And Honorable Speaker, many speakers have made very important points here. But to be honest, like I said, as far as the social sector ministries are concerned, indeed, the issue of education is very key. And we have all seen, for example, the member of Kansala made something very clear here, that looking at the allocation when it comes to the funding, when it comes to areas for higher education, is a concern. Because they cannot have areas of 208 million and you only allocate them with 100 million.
Honorable, I missed that. I overheard that you said the hospitals are accounted for. They are audited.
I'm talking about the Ministry of Higher Education in terms of areas that they are owing.
You said hospitals are not audited.
No, I've already passed the issue of hospitals. It's very important when deciding
I'm saying,
attentively listening to us.
No, you said accounts of the.
What I said about the hospital, if you want to bring me back, make sure that you give me an extra 2 minutes. I said it is unacceptable when our public hospitals are generating revenue and even the ministry itself don't know how much these hospitals are making. So why should we allocate funds to them? So this is what I said, but notwithstanding at 2 minutes. So, Honorable Speaker, going further, I already started with the issue of education. Education is very important. And we cannot move this country, to be honest, without having people that are educated. But also understanding the different backgrounds that we are from. And currently, as mentioned by Honorable Member for Kansala, it's like in Wolof we say Sulbuki and Sulibuki. Is that the kind of country that we want? Whereby we put in money and also take it back. For me, it doesn't make sense, and we must come with a proper mechanism to address such a situation. Because we cannot be held accountable at the end of the day when we don't even know how much we are appropriating and why we should appropriate. This is very important. Honorable Speaker, I believe as a key member and someone who is very passionate about our health sector, for me, the entire budget we need to scrap. Why? Because we are not even reaching the 50% allocation for health. 15%. Listen to me properly, Majority Leader. This is something very important, and we should even take it back and tell them, look, make sure that the budget allocation meet the requirement of 15%. We are not saying nothing is done according to our health sector in this country. But I think it is very important to fulfill some of the documents that we ratify as a country, some of the documents that we sign. Because we cannot commit ourselves to sign on documents when we cannot even domesticate those signings or those documents. To me, it doesn't make sense, and we really need to work on those things. Honorable Speaker, I cannot conclude without talking about issues surrounding young people. Other members mentioned it here. We all and always claim that young people are the current and the future leaders of this country. They are the cream of the society. They are the citizens of the nation. Gambia is youthfully populated. And today, as we are speaking, under the Ministry of Youth and Sports, is on the budget, especially when it comes to sporting facilities in this country. Let me inform you, Honorable Speaker, as we are speaking, do you know that the Gambian Professional League didn't start because of lack of facilities in this country? Even as a city, construction is going on right now. The only KG5 that we have, we cannot even organize a Norwegian tournament this year, which is very unfortunate as a country. And this is something that we need to look at. So let's...
Member for Jokado, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, I thank this government through the Minister of Finance for tabling this budget before us. Honorable Speaker, may God forbid this country witness a year of no budget. May God forbid that. Since independence up to now, year in and year out, budgets are laid before the parliament and they are approved. And I think this one also is not an exception. We are going to approve it no matter what. We'll approve it. I know that. Yes, Honorable Speaker, development is something that we cannot just bring at one go. It's a piecemeal. People are talking about electricity. Some are talking about hospitals, schools. All these things have been brought in a piecemeal basis because we cannot do it at all. If you have a road, you don't have a health center. There are people who have health centers, they don't have roads in this country here. It's vice versa. So I think we should at least appreciate the effort that this government is doing. Honorable Speaker, and also we are having it wrong somewhere, because looking at our budget, it's just a forecast. When 2026 arrives, we are not having a full basket of money that we just place and say, this is our budget. It's a forecast. Anything that we got, we just bring and drop it in the basket. So it's a forecast. So we are all these monies, all these environments, all these additional or cutting here, putting it there, it's just a forecast. We may have it, we can exceed it, we can even have less than that. So I think we all have to be rational. I have some people talking about election year. Yes, it's an election year, but this election year is for all of us. Both the ruling, the incumbent, and the opposition, because all of us are yearning for that position. We don't know what is going to happen. It all left to the hands of the Almighty Allah. So we all have to be very factual. We know what we are doing. And anything that we are doing also, we do it for the sake of the Almighty Allah. Because this budget, there is no household in this country or compound in this country that will not benefit from this budget. We have civil servants, our brothers, our sisters, they are working and they need to be paid. And they are even yearning for increment year in and year out. People are saying that hope this year teachers' salaries will be increased, hope doctors will be increased, soldiers, servicemen. So I think we just have to be at par. We all think of for the betterment of the Gambia. We pass this budget for the benefit of all of us. Honorable Speaker, this government is really trying very well. Since independence in 1965, very few communities were just benefiting when it comes to electricity. Very few communities. But now, people in the deep rural area who are not even expecting this thing for them to see light, they are fixing their meters. If we don't have budget, how can we have all those necessities? Those are basic necessities that people need to have. So we must be passing the budget. I know there may be differences, but at the end of the day, we all have to come together and work together so that we see that the country move forward. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The member for Central Badibu, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Member of Jokadu. I know you are scared of budget not being passed, but I think history, sometimes you have to make things, you test them and see whether it will work. So if Gambia is not without a budget, I think, we will also feel it so that we know how ordinary people are feeling it. But I know it will be catastrophic because the way you're talking, you feel that if there's no budget, we are not going to survive. I don't think so. By looking at the budget, honestly speaking, I don't want to participate this year. But when I look at it, the system is still the same. The budget format, the budget is not citizen friendly, it's not responding to issues that are pertinent. The budget is there to widen the gap between the poor and the rich. Those on the top, their salaries are getting higher and higher. Those are the below the ladder, they are getting poorer and poorer. So what I'm seeing is I expected this year's budget to be a budget where we are going to have minimum wage, not to give 50% to National Assembly, 30% to this sector. No, we need a system in place that every civil servant in this country will know that at least the system is moving. Honorable Speaker, looking at the debt services, we have overcrowding debt services. All our funds are going into debt services. I don't know what mechanism the Ministry of Finance is putting in place. And FPAC, this is a body or a committee that we trust you so high, but sometimes we get serious disappointment from you. Sometimes we have to hold these people to account. We need Ministry, Finance, because observation, you are welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for Central Badibu, for allowing me to observe you. The issue of debt repayment, we must remember that in 2020, there was debt suspension during the COVID. So the government of the Gambia was not paying any debt. So when you owe debt, you have to pay. So during that particular period of time, 3 to 4 years, we were not making any payment. Obviously, by 2026, 2025, that amount has to be part of what we're going to pay. That's the reason why you see that debt going up. We as a committee, we were aware of that. And that's the reason why the only thing we can do together as a nation is to try to build our revenue base and spread it so that we don't concentrate only on one particular area. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that observation. What I mean is
No, even if you want to
No.
fast track the time,
No.
I'll speak my mind.
No.
What I'm saying
His
is,
observation is part of his time.
no, please add it there.
His observation is part of his time. He cannot go to 7. He has to go to
Honorable,
5 now.
honorable member of Upper Salu. Yes, what I'm saying is the system that will see to it that we graduate from this overcrowded debt system. That is what I'm saying. I'm not saying the history that we are caught in. I'm not disputing that. I'm thinking of way forward. How can we put up a system that will make sure that the debt services is critically looked at? Honorable Speaker, looking at the, yes, looking at the, no, we expect the committee to do that. Looking at the University of the Gambia, the construction of University of the Gambia, Honorable Speaker, a lot of money is still, budgeted, in paying the construction of university. I want the ministry or the Minister of Finance to inform us the progress level of work at the University of the Gambia. Why is it that still now we put in a lot of funds under the University of the Gambia? And also looking at the projects, there is serious underreporting. I don't know whether FPAC highlighted that. An omission of actual project grants and external loans. So the budget should inform us. It should be very informative. But we don't have much information as far as the reports that we see. So there is serious underreporting. I don't know whether the minister or the chairperson of the committee can elaborate on that. Honorable Speaker, looking at the underreporting, the projects. Looking at the projects, economic projects, and other projects on the Ministry of Higher Education. So it's good that when the president is on tour to better inform the citizens how those projects are funded, because the information or the speculation is the president is putting his hand from his pocket to do those projects. These projects are Gambian citizens' projects. Do you understand? So misinformation during the political tours are very high. Payback time.
The point of observation.
Honorable Speaker, the budget also, if you look at the National Development Plan and the SDG, the budget should be linked. The National Development Plan should be linked to the Sustainable Development Goal. Gambia is not an isolation. Gambia is not an island. So, we have to look at these, international goals, and our budget should be saved towards that. And I have seen a lot of, deficiency, from the link from the National Development Plan to the Sustainable Development Goal. You will be better informed. Meet me in Badi. Honorable Speaker, looking at the Ministry of Gender, the budget is on the low side. Somebody made mention of the social services. We have the old ages. We have the disabled of people who are physically challenged. We have women. We have children. This institution needs to serve for its purpose. It should not be just politically created. At the end of the day, you give them a token they cannot deliver. Coming to our Ministry of Higher Education, we know there are a lot of schools built in this country, but the schools need to be well equipped with science labs. From Esau to Farafenni, there is no single high school or senior secondary school that is well furnished with science materials. The labs are not okay. You know nothing about that area. So what I'm saying is, it's high time we prioritize the budget. We equip at least 2 or 3 senior secondary schools with the science lab so that the children can interact with the materials. Honorable Speaker, scholarships. There are a lot of young people going to the University of the Gambia and other institutions. So we need to make sure that funds are available for these young people to have access. And young people are graduating from the University of the Gambia, which we all celebrate. But do we have employment for them? So this budget need to work in the direction to create employment for our young people. If not, we are sitting on a very serious explosion that we don't know. Because once these young people graduate from the university, they don't have a job, they turn on social media, and at the end of the day, there will be a straight bullet. Do you understand?
Government cannot be the sole driving force of employment. Government creates the enabling environment for the private sector to strive to create job creation. And that is why government is now bringing up this youth set to equip the youths, giving the requisite knowledge and information so that when they graduate, they can be self-employed. So do not perceive the burden that budget must contain employment opportunities. That's misleading. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. For the Bintang, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And debate that we have before us is very essential. Honorable Speaker, we went through the bilaterals with various ministries, and these are ministries that are in areas. Most of them are in areas. And as I speak with you right now, there is no actual plan to settle those areas. And we cannot continue to accumulate areas. We as a nation must be in a position to face the reality. And also, as I always say, you see, no matter how you try to fake the situation, you cannot go beyond the limits that are set by Allah. The limits that are set by Allah are there for all of us. So we went with the bilateral with various ministries, and we saw the constraints that they are facing as ministries. They did cry before the National Assembly. And there are challenges that the Ministry of Finance are also going through. We cannot continue to live in debt. It's not realistic and it's not sustainable. It's not realistic and it's not sustainable. And we cannot continue to baffle our people at all costs. So we must be in a position for us to tell the people what is actually happening. That, like the honorable members state here, for the Ministry of Higher Education, on the scholarship, the areas that they owe to tertiary institutions is almost $208 million. Now, the scholarship that is given for this year is not enough. The amount of scholarship that is given for this year is 100 million. That is not enough to settle areas. Talk less of the coming year. What are they going to do? We hear the member for St. Clair Bodibu was talking about the science labs in senior secondary schools. You and I know that we cannot attain the kind of education that we want as a nation without having the equipment. Education has to go with materials. So we must be realistic. And we cannot continue to take loan and loan and loan and loan. Looking at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, the CPU, PCU, their PCU unit, now the PE for this year is only 10 million. And that cannot settle it. That will only take them half of the year, and it cannot take them for the full of the year. I don't know how the Ministry of Finance came up with that, and the Ministry of Finance will be in a position to clarify that. Now, we talk about electricity, we talk about water supply, we talk about budget for the various ministries and government institutions. Now, after we budget to various ministries, when it comes to national development, all our people should have development equally. But then you look at who supports who and who is not supporting the government. And those that are not supporting government, they are penalized in terms of getting the development that they should actually have, which should not actually be. And also, the government, at any point in time, they should be in a position to tell people the reality that this is the national budget. And from the national budget, we are bringing water. From the national budget, we are supplying electricity. From the national budget, we are having schools. From the national budget, we are able to pay our civil servants. But not through a favor from the president, not through a favor from any political party. This must be realistic. This must be realistic. I also want to go further for us to look at the budget that we have. You are looking at this debt service for this year. We are using 13 billion for debt service. And you said that debt service was under suspension. And 13 billion, the debt service alone is more than any ministry that we are actually going to settle for this year. So now, for long we have been accumulating debt, and here we are today to face the reality. The salaries for civil servants, as I always say, is not a matter of favoring them, but to whom much is given, much is expected. We have seen the salaries for civil servants, and the salaries for entire civil servants, both the teachers, the police, the security sector entirely, the agriculturists, the health workers, all the salary sector is definitely not up to standard. What can we do as a nation? And to the Ministry of Finance, I am running out of time. One thing I want to ask you, how are you trying to deal with the issue of inflation? Constant depreciation of our currency. How are you trying to deal with that? Now, today, the pound stands at 98. £1 for $98. What are we going to do regarding that? How can we settle those things? We have seen price of commodities escalating day in, day out. But if the dollar is constantly depreciating, then it's a serious threat to the nation. And even if the nation fails to understand this reality. So we face these realities as a nation. So how do you want to address that in reality? Now, when you look at the other issue which I was talking about, which is the salary. Now, no matter the salaries, but if the salaries are not actually realistic and the constant depreciation of our currency, that is the dollar. If the dollar continues to depreciate, then there will be no value for money, especially for the civil servant. Finally, at the latter part of my debate, I want to stress this issue. And as I said from the beginning, that we have seen all the ministries crying because they need additional money. And you and I know that all the ministries and government institutions are found wanting. Regardless of the president and his toll and wastage of money, we have seen the realities. And also, the nation cannot be crying while the government is wasting money. Finally, which I want to wrap up, is the budget. Honorable Speaker, the budget of the National Assembly. Come to the point. I said the budget of the National Assembly, put in 50 million for ITC wiring of this place is not realistic and should actually be looked into seriously. Secondly, the salaries of the civil servants. We have not looked at it and it has not been increased. But we are in a position to increase salaries for National Assembly members. I am not part of it today, tomorrow, and forever, just as I said with the Judicial Remuneration Bill. And I am not part of the salary increment for the National Assembly. It's not justifiable with the current situation that we are facing as a nation. We cannot stand at this point in time and increase our salaries. I am not a party tariff, and I will never be a party tariff. We are in a position actually to settle the areas that we have for various ministries and also to increase salaries for civil servants, but not salary for National Assembly members. I stand to be corrected, and even if I stand alone, it's sometimes better to stand alone. I do not come here to have support of any National Assembly member. I do not come here to have support of any minister. I do not come here to have support of any staff of the National Assembly. I am here to speak the truth and to represent the interests of the Gambian people. And that is what I have sworn for, and that's what I am going to stand for. I thank you all.
The member for Lower Salem, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the floor. Can I also join my colleagues to thank the government of the day, especially the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Honorable Speaker, this is where separation of powers comes in. The executive will do their own, then the parliament also will step in and scrutinize what is better for our people. But, Honorable Speaker, there are most important things that I have seen in this budget. I sat here now for 8 years now, but then this year budget, the way and the manner it comes to Parliament, we must say bravo to the Minister of Finance and his staffs. Honorable Speaker, you see, whenever the opposition speak, before they land, we will know what they want to talk about. Honorable Speaker, the norms that comes back to Parliament, we have seen how the estimates or the budget process goes. Honorable Speaker, The member for Ken said, you cannot quote people's name in the budget, but then they feel the reality of the budget. But I can easily tell the member for Kia, the Kiang West Road is part of this budget. Means the Kiang people have feel themselves in this budget. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, before going further, Honorable Speaker, you see, just recently, the FPAC recommendation on recapitalization of GEC is a good move. They put $150 million for a start. But, Honorable Minister, this amount of money that is given recommended by the FPAC, we have seen how that company is working. Honorable Speaker, recently they have built a plant. At the end of the season, they were able to sell energy to NAREC. It's a good move. We have seen today a bag of rice is reduced to 1,650. Their involvement is the use of Badia, Jar oil, and GUC. They are involved in the market system. This is why this budget is coming forward to the doorstep of our people, Honorable Speaker. Members, I'm surprised if members said this year loans are more than the grants. Where in the book? Tell us. Where in the budget? Tell us. Because what I have seen, the loan, if you check on the overview of revenue, grants, and finance, the loan, the external borrow is 1.4 billion. The grants are 18.83 billion. These are grants. So you can't tell us anywhere the loans are more than grants. Honorable Speaker. You see, members cannot mislead us.
Honorable member, point of order. There is a point of honorable members order. Honorable member for Kiang West, please don't do that. No, don't do that, honorable member for Kiang West. When you were on the floor, people were not disturbing you in this manner. Please don't put off your mic, please. I appeal. No, don't do that. Honorable members, please allow the member for Lower Salem to continue.
I think the member for Lower Salem is right. You cannot mislead Parliament. Go to page 6. The loan is just 2%. It's 2.4%. You cannot come and invent figures here that are not right. No. Please. So, honorable member for Lower Salem, please continue. You see, please, I think the members should give me a chance. When you are misleading members, you realize it was the real figures. But now I'm giving you a real figure. You either go by it or people will expose you. Paragraph 6, you check on grants. In 2025, we estimate 12 billion. Recently, it's 14 billion. We check on the loans, it's 1.5. Honorable Speaker, if members of Parliament.
There is point of order by the member for Sabah Sanjal.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. I'm rising on 17F. Whilst a member is speaking, all other members shall remain silent and shall not make any unseemly interruptions. I believe the Honorable Member for Kiang West should remain silent and allow the Honorable Member.
Order sustained. Honorable member, it is apparent that maybe the facts that are coming from the member for Lower Salem are not be tolerated by his colleagues. We must refrain from that.
No, that is.
Or honorable members, I don't want to invoke. Honorable member for Lower Salem, take a seat. Honorable member for Kiang West, I want to appeal that we maintain decorum. Please allow him to contribute.
But don't give.
Honorable Order, please take your seat. Honorable member for Kiang West, you're really out of order. I'm happy that you know. Member for Lower Salem, please continue.
Mr. Speaker, you cannot give us what you are trying to put across. You said, now domestic borrowing, these are under the government of the day, where treasury bills are sent to the commercial banks. Mr. Speaker, these are not loans, external loans, Mr. Speaker. These are within the country, whereby the central bank will use treasury bills to customer commercial banks to get in, to attract the rates. This is why, if you go to the overview of revenue and grants financing, this is where it comes. You see, Mr. Speaker, these members of parliament, we know that they are oppositions. And whenever they speak, we know that how they want to speak. But you can check the social sector this year. How it improved. Mr. Speaker, the support of disabilities, this budget has created $4 million. The Sohai initiative, $20 million. The agriculture equipment, $75 million. 79. The emergency, is $52 million. Support on variable Gambians, $4 million. Support on research and innovative, $30 million. These are all sectors that this year has addressed, Honorable Speaker. If the same oppositions are now giving us that you take $100 million from agriculture, you start giving to projects, there are VRF components where the government should pay for those projects. This is why those VRF components have to pay to those projects for their counterpart contribution. If you don't know, you cannot mislead members of parliament. And again, Honorable Speaker, the higher educations, there's a member who said, he said it's zero. It's not zero. This year, we are in increase on that budget line. Because we have passed a bill. There's student enrollment scheme. This year is 40 million is there. These are budget that increase everyone. Honorable Speaker. You see, numbers also mentioned again, we have deficit of 25 billion. It's not really right, Honorable Speaker. That's a misleading statement. We have to deal with the budget. How it is written in this book. If you know that you don't know any issue on them, you get silence. We can mislead people on that. Because making a political statement, because we have a campaign, no. Even that campaign even, it's meant for people. This money, what is going to my house, it's meant for government people. And we said, everyone should feel it. So if even realize this budget is meant for the success of the person, he has to. Because he is in the corner in chief. Honorable Speaker, you see, you give us the reality that we can listen with our ears. When you give us false information, we give you deaf ears. I will debate it here, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the social sectors, they have improved. To the a bag of rice is 1,650. And this opposition, they never wanted this rice to come down because of the support of the Minister of Finance. Today, that rice given to Yao is investing in the market. The GEC, the same thing. What you supposed to compare about this book? We have to pass this document, Honorable Speaker. On that note, I take my seat.
Thank you very much, the member for Lower Salum, for that contribution. I now invite the member for Kantora and Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving the floor. I think it's important as members of Parliament to really rise above water level. Anything you are giving in Parliament must be accurate. Do your studies and do your investigation before you come here to mislead Parliament or give narrations that are really unfounded. I want to also debunk some of the allegations that are made here in terms of borrowing. It's actually misleading and disheartening. Go to page 3, look at the foreign borrowing, amortization, domestic borrowing. It's just 2% of the budget. You cannot come here and giving things that are unfounded. And secondly, as well, as you rightly mentioned, domestic borrowing are meant for us to scout for resources within the banking sector. Rather than attracting, we have a call on government that reduce the amount of money you borrow outside. But let's really look inward to get fundings to fund our social projects. And Parliament cannot come here again, try to give an ugly picture to that. Let me tell you, there is no government in the world that doesn't borrow to financial development. Even the advanced nation, loan is not a problem. How you really, put that loan into best use to really impact a lot of people matters. This Parliament, we've ratified and agreed $93 million US dollars for the OIC road construction. Who can stand in this Parliament and say that that road did not impact traffic, did not impact industrial boosting, and did not also impact trade and commerce? Nobody can say that. So these are interventions by the government to be appreciated. And second, you are standing here saying that scholarship this time around has reduced. Lest we forget, or we don't do our findings properly. This Parliament has passed a bill, student revolving loan scheme. We are encouraging students now that we cannot put all the burden on government, but let's find a mechanism whereby government will give you a loan, you educate from there. Once you start working, you pay back. So how can you clamor again at canvas as if you are not really reflecting some of the vision we take in this hollow chamber? This very Parliament has passed that bill into law. That moving forward, for us to make sure that the government really transform and bring some innovation, let's go into education financing by creating a student revolving loan scheme. It has been passed here, so I'm so disappointed. Listen to members of Parliament that come 2026, there will be no scholarship. I think it's important that when documents are given to us, we reflect back and look at them and read them thoroughly before we come and make some remarks. It doesn't really tell all of us. It exposes that you are speaking on a topic that you have no idea about. It exposes you as a member of Parliament that you haven't taken time to do your homework well. We should really peruse through these documents so that the citizen we represent, when we speak, understand that we are talking with facts, we are talking with confidence. You cannot come here and try to win the dress issues, loan scheme, that the loan has taken 80% or chunk of the budget. That's just unfounded stories. Right. Honorable Speaker, having made this clarification, I think let me also congratulate the Minister of Finance. With the meager resources we have in the country, they were able to prioritize so many social safety nets in the budget. We've seen how they prioritize education. Now, if you go to page, budget book page 27, you can see that they have given about 13.59% to Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. For any nation to strive and develop, you must inject heavily in education. And this government is oblivious of that. That is why in every budget cycle, government doesn't give deaf ear to education. Because of education, we are here today representing those very people that voted us in. So government understood. That is why if you look at the priority of government,
the USAID project was really meant for that. So that the issue about honorable member for Central Badibu was also religion, totally saying that we should put money in the budget to create, employment opportunity. When those kind of utterances are mentioned, I tremble in my skin. How can you say you are putting money in the budget to create employment? Even if you don't really do your homework, it's actually, I'm out of words. What government could do is to create the enabling environment to make sure that policies and programs whereby the private sector can strive. Government cannot be the sole provider of employment in this country. And that is why, since His Excellency comes into power, he put in place a reform process whereby the private sector will strive in a manner in which it will create job opportunities. That is why you are now seeing BB companies now operating. So, having said that, if you also go to page 27, I refer to Ministry of Health, 7.8%, of course. Is it enough? No. I want us to really push further to attain the Maputo Declaration. The funding for health need to be really looked at. Everybody here should take health as a priority. I will call on the government to really, we appreciate what is here, but is it enough? It is never enough to finance health. Health is a very, very important sector. Every citizen, this is our hope. From your region up to Edward Sir Francis Small Teaching Hospital, when we are sick, that's where we normally go to heal ourselves. So basically, we applaud the efforts in that intervention as well. And it's also important in debt financing. Once you borrow, you cannot, how do you call it again? Defend. As a country, you must make sure that you pay your debt. And as alluded by member for Lower Salum, of course, of Upper Salum, there was a debt freeze for us during the COVID to give it the enabling environment to strive. What we need to do to work hand in glove with government to make sure that we expand our revenue base, to look at those untapped areas, to tap them, not necessarily increasing tax. These are quite different things. When we talk about revenue expansion, it does not really mean literally that we are going for a revenue upsurge. We're trying to look around to be innovative. And that is what the government has been doing since inception. We used to have $500 million collection monthly, but because of stringent measures that the government has put in place, creating one single treasury mail account to close all the loopholes, we must appreciate this dynamic Minister of Finance seated here. Since he assumed office, he has done a lot of reform process. This SIPCA, this issue of what? Africa war, you name it. These are all giant strides in making sure that we materialize revenue generation. So let's work with government in terms of looking at avenues that are on tap to look for resources and fund our priorities. I can tell you, as of last year, as of this year, up to now, we haven't yet received appropriate support. But because of we believe in ourselves, we make sure that we close all the loopholes and the gaps, we are able to sustain. In fact, we can do without external donors. And it is this government that is setting that pace rolling, that we can believe in ourselves, we can fund our development need. It is this government, first of its kind, building road construction, highly intensified projects using GLF funds to build this road. So they deserve commendation. Is it
Point of order, Honorable Speaker. I'm asking on.
You cannot. There's a point of order from the member for Serekunda. Can we hear that?
Thank you very much. Order 26. 2. A member shall speak standing and shall address his or her observation to the speaker or chairperson. And what the honorable member is doing, he is addressing the gallery.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable member for Cantona, please continue and address the speaker.
Honorable Speaker, every sentence I begin, I call upon the Honorable Speaker. I'm not addressing the gallery per se, but I'm putting my concern to the Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, in fact, for more than 10 years, you can attest to that. The Minister of Agriculture did not have a funding like this year, 1.7 billion. It shows the government foresight in terms of how do we really innovate, how do we try to transform the Ministry of Agriculture. So this is a lot of initiative. They deserve commendation and a tap on the back. And for the first time, we are also looking at how do we recapitalize GGC, the Gambia Ground Corporation, to make sure that our farmers, whenever they go and harvest their crops, there's a market available. Funds are available to buy their crops as well. Honorable Speaker, to Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Honorable Speaker, the government, I'm calling on FPAC and the entire parliament that every savings that we have, let's inject it to these key sectors. The Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, so that the electrification campaign that the President promised makes sure that 90% of electricity in this country.
I now invite the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs to take the floor and clarify on issues and concerns raised by honorable members. Honorable Minister, the podium is all yours.
Honorable Speaker and members of the August Assembly, I thank you all for your active participation in the debate. Based on the notes I have taken, 15 members of the House have taken the floor. But before delving into the discussion proper, I think a number of interventions focus on the debt service have been taking a large proportion of the budget this year. There is a context to this, and some of the references have already been made. Debt service is a build-up to where we are. With the onslaught of COVID, Gambia entered into what they call debt service suspension initiative, which meant that debt principle of external debts were deferred. From 2020 to 2024, there was no debt servicing of the principal. So it's just like when you owe a bank, the bank decided to tell you, you should pay me in 4 years, but because you have issues, stop paying. But when you get out of the crisis, now you start paying. So once that starts, then you expect what you should have been paying incrementally over 4 years. Now you are going to pay that upfront within a much shorter period. That adds to the debt challenge that we had, particularly for this year's budget. The second, also most important element is the impact of exchange rate. When these debts were contracted, the dollar was hovering around 40 to 50. Today we are in the 70s. So that is an exchange rate depreciation of more than 30 to 40%. Technically, when you do not service the external debt, it is sitting, the exchange rate is depreciating, the dollar's equivalent of that goes up. So in your debt servicing, the burden will be higher. That's the second element. The third element is the issue of the duration. Most of these loans are very long-term loans. I'm sure you are approving these loans, 10 years grace period, payment over 20 to 30 years. In the budget, the debt service that is there, 80% of the value relates to debts that were contracted before 2017. So all of that, yes, just to show that this is how the debt has evolved. And we as a ministry have taken very active interest in the issue of debt because it's the biggest fiscal risks. And we believe we are not alone. We are looking around, we are working with our partners, but the issue of debt is not unique to Gambia. Globally, with the onslaught of COVID, almost all the countries, their debt level have gone up. I think I have also already shared with the clerk of the house a publication from the World Bank called World Debt Bulletin to be circulated to the National Assembly members, where each country debt evolution is populated. It shows each country, and I will show you how Gambia stands within that context. I think within the region, we have the lowest, we and Guinea-Bissau, in terms of absolute debt size. But this is not to make it not important. It is still one of the biggest challenges we have in our fiscal management, and we are putting strategies together to manage this. What are the key strategies? We make sure that we do not borrow non-concessional loans. By that I mean is we are not borrowing any external borrowing that are non-concessional. That means for every loans that we take, minimum is that 35% should be grant element. So like if you take a loan, all the loans we are contracting, it's like 35% grant and or 65% loan component. That is the strategy going forward. And more importantly, we are not borrowing from open market. We are borrowing from reliable international financial institutions, who are development partners. So we have taken note, and myself and my team are working vigorously with our partners to look at how we can manage the debts. And these are the strategies we are putting in place. I just want to let the August Assembly be aware of that. And I will zoom into the individual interventions. The allocation of the development, the member for Kian West mentioned that the allocation for development from the GLF is on the low side. Yes. Why so? For an obvious reason, most of the development budgets are funded through loans or grants, basically.